know what's behind me, Paul?
That looks like Emmaus, Pennsylvania.
It is actually Antarctica. You know what the high temperature in Antarctica is today?
I believe it's the same temperature that you'll see where you live today.
In fact, that is not true. The high temperature in Antarctica today is 33 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hmm.
As
That's
of right
significantly
now,
higher.
it is -2 outside with
Yikes.
about a 14-mile-an-hour wind, or as I like to call that, angry dog temperature.
hmm Yeah, you probably have the same experience. Our dog goes for a walk every day, and
hmm
when it's really rainy, she just kind of sits and she's like, "Nope, I'm not going." And like this morning, Stephanie went to take her out just to go to the bathroom because we knew she was not going to go for a walk, and she actually skidded against the door frame.
Yep.
It's like, no, you're going out.
Yep, I put the dog on the little whatever welcoming mat inside the house, and he like did his stretches because I got him out of the crate.
Yeah.
Put the leash on, opened the door, and he just took like he didn't even make it outside. He like the concrete little thing that the door's on. He like put his paw on it and was like,
He was like,
really,
"Nope."
really, and then
We
I
had
kind of like kick him out there.
We have a lot of deer around here, but I don't usually see them in the winter. In fact, I kind of assume maybe they went somewhere else in the winter. I don't know, but they
To
usually
Florida.
like to a more wooded area or so. I don't know, but they kind of go through our yard and go through our neighbor's yard and jump the fence and all that. But last night I went out just to take a picture, look at the snow, whatever, on the front, and I caught movement off to the right, and I could see the white deer butt, 2 or 3 of them kind of hopping around in the yard next door. So I called Stephanie and Kelly over to check it out through the window, and actually there were 6 of them out there, and 3 of them were like taking shelter under the trees in my backyard. They were literally laying, like not laying on their side like a dog, but laying like a cat lays, kind of upright. But they were just sitting there, and another one was standing over them, kind of, I guess, guarding them or whatever. But they were literally like weathering the storm. Like 3 of the little ones were playing. They were loving it, I guess. But the 3 bigger ones were just kind of like, we're just gonna sit here for a while and ride this one out. Because there was just whiteouts. Like it was just kind of snowing lightly, but every once in a while the whole thing would go white, and then you'd be like, well, maybe they'll be gone, and then it kind of filters down and you can see them again. But I mean, you couldn't see like 10 feet in this. It was unbelievable. I love the winter.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah.
Got my space heater running. I really don't want to move my feet. My kids actually have school today. My wife is home as well because her school workplace is closed. Because why not?
Yeah. So actually, my kid could have gone to school yesterday. It was just lightly snowing. Would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
The way they do things here is terrible. So I told her last night, I'm like, there's no way you're going to school. And by the way, the other thing that happened was 2:00 in the morning. I am awoken by the sound of my driveway being plowed, which, on one hand is good because, it got done. But like it was like an airplane was crashing like into the house. It would scare the crap out of us. Anyway, but the way they do this is so terrible. They call at 5:00 in the morning.
Yep.
And they're like, we're going to have a 2-hour delay today. Right. So Kelly sets her alarm for 2 hours later. She's awoken in the middle of the night, which is the most terrible thing to happen to anybody. But when you're a teenager, especially, what you really need is to sleep, And then an hour or 2 went by, and then they called again, like, yeah, we're not going to have school. I was like, guys.
Fantastic.
Seriously.
Couldn't see that one coming.
I did see it coming. I was like, you should have had it yesterday. Shouldn't have it today. It makes sense.
When Paul's done with this blogging thing, he's going to become the Emmaus school superintendent. And
look,
just sit at your desk with a gavel, be like, no school today. And then
they clearly, I mean, I don't know what they're working off of here. I mean, in Dedham, they would have called last night at 8:00, and they would have said, there's no school tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the safe thing to do. And that would have been the right decision.
Yeah.
But these guys, man, I'm
going to throw a string of words at you, and you tell me what they mean to you.
Okay.
245 billion. That's how much cash Apple has in the bank.
Oh, I should have known that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure.
It's a lot of
money.
I wonder.
Well, maybe they can buy their way out of this problem. They'll have to buy half of the tech industry. Maybe some of those bets will pay off.
I mean, they could probably afford to do so. I mean, they can buy like
Yeah.
5 Teslas. They could probably buy a couple Qualcomms.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Apple's, what was the revenue? I think was 84 billion, and
Sounds
they were
right.
projecting initially in the 90s, and then last year for same quarter they did about 88 billion, and so definitely down. But I wouldn't say down, but not out, because
Well, no, I mean that's the thing. Like people, depending on who you are, like the Apple fans are obviously they were in denial mode the entire fall when all those reports are coming in from suppliers. Like, no, this doesn't mean anything. Blah blah blah, whatever. And then what they fall back on is what you just said. Well, they still have a lot of money, and and they still make, and they do. And that's the thing. Like for the Apple haters who are like rejoicing and dancing in the streets, Apple's going down a hole. It's over. It's like, guys, like I said, the Titanic didn't sink overnight, and this company is far from being a Titanic. I mean, I read a story this morning, about the iPhone in particular, and however you want to do the math, they sold over 60 million iPhones in the quarter.
right.
There are only 2 other companies on Earth who can sell phones to that volume. One's based in China. It's called Huawei, and the other one's Samsung. And Huawei is on the rise up. There's no doubt about that. In fact, Huawei will probably end up being the largest smartphone provider in the world. But Samsung is having the same exact problems that Apple is. And I kind of compare it to Windows because that's my background, and there are some similarities, right? Windows had a 10-year run in the sun where they were dominant, and all the stuff came off of it, and it was big. And then in Microsoft's case, the antitrust stuff happened, and that was the end of that. But that wasn't the end of that, right? It just doesn't go away. The business, it takes a while. It's inertia. It's forward motion. It's gonna keep going. And if you look at the Windows business today, we don't have exact numbers, but we do know, for example, 265 million units were sold last year of PCs. That's just out in the world, like retail and to businesses, obviously, as well. But that's a significant number. I want to say that Apple added 75 million new iOS. No, actually, no, sorry, those were iPhone. Yeah, iPhones to the base last year. 75 million.
Decent number.
Not 75 sold to people who already have iPhones, but 75 million more. That's how much that user base increased last year. The user base size of iOS or iPhone rather is something like 900 million active users.
They said they have overall iOS active devices are 1.4 billion.
So. Yeah. Now, by the way, I mean, someone pointed this out to me, and it's fair. Of that 500 million, that is not iPhone. Most of those probably are iPhone users too, right?
Yeah.
It's not users, right?
Sure,
It's devices.
Sure, it's
so
devices. Yep.
You don't buy an Apple Watch unless you have an iPhone. Most iPad users probably have an iPhone, right?
Yep.
Most Mac users probably have an iPhone. I mean, that's fair, but that's still an installed base of devices. It still represents something that is just about the same size as the Windows installed base, right? It's a big number. Google with Android is over 2 billion. I don't remember the exact number there, but it's big numbers. Service business has huge margins, right? Which is what Apple always likes to have. The margins on iPhones are going down because of competition. That's a virtuous cycle that is going to benefit the business and so forth. I don't. Well, you're. I mean, and I don't mean this in like a negative way. I mean, you're an iPhone user. You bought an Apple Watch. There's a symbiosis to this, right? You see the benefits of these things together. Microsoft used to call it better together. Remember, that was their kind of marketing thing. There is. I don't do this myself, but if you were to use like an iPhone with Apple Music, and maybe you got a watch and you got that going, so, over LTE, and you're spending money on other stuff. It all kind of feeds back on itself. It makes you more likely, not you personally, but you as any you globally, maybe to think about buying like a HomePod or two for your house, or if Apple comes out with this movie service that everyone's been talking about, TV service, it might make you more inclined to do that. You might buy an Apple TV. You might, every time you buy an app on the store, you're benefiting Apple, right? In the services business from the 30%. It's a cyclone more than a cycle, of additional money that you can spend in that ecosystem, right? I mean, it's healthy, I guess
Yeah,
is what I'm trying
I
to
mean
say.
that's what they're trying to do. And if you ever find yourself on American Airlines, God rest your soul, you can also stream Apple Music for free now, apparently too.
Yeah, that will help you get over the cramping in your legs from the 11 inches of leg room you got on frickin' American Airlines. But yeah, and I think we're going to see more deals like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've already seen deals with smart TV makers,
Yep.
and I think we're going to see deals later on with device makers, set-top box makers, to get Apple services, starting with Apple Music probably and AirPlay and so forth, but extended obviously to the whatever the TV thing is they're doing on those other devices too. It's smart.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's how they'll continue to grow, or, well, at least make money at a exuberant level.
It's growing is interesting because that's the other thing I sort of thought to point out in that article, which was so Apple, my estimate for Apple for iPhone sales based on the average selling price going up, what they sold last year, what the drop off was revenues. It's an estimate, it's a guess, frankly, was I think I said 63 million units, but it's north of 60. Let's call it 60, right? And I said earlier, there's only a couple of companies who can sell that many, but yeah, okay. So that's a drop off from last year, right? So last year they sold 70 million or whatever the number was. Okay, fine. But it's still 60 million more,
Right.
right? It's not like the sales were negative 60. It's still potentially growing the base, right? It's still revenues and people staying in the ecosystem. It's still healthy. Apple can't.
Still very profitable too.
Super profitable, and that's actually an important point, right? Because Apple may be the only company on earth that's directly profitable from smartphone sales.
Yeah,
maybe.
So. I bet other companies make money, but Apple's livelihood is built on the back of that iPhone.
Yeah, and you can do that same kind of math we do every quarter, even though we didn't get the exact numbers. If you just you could do it on revenues. The iPhone by itself is X percent of Apple's revenues. Whatever 60%, 60 million of or 60 billion of 80 billion is, that's the iPhone. Whatever. Oh no, that's not the exact number. I'm sorry, I got that number wrong. But whatever that percentage is, but you have to add services to it, I think, because those services don't exist unless the iPhone is so popular, right? And once you add that up, you get back to that number. It's kind of 75%. Apple is the iPhone company, and it's still going gangbusters in a down market.
Yeah.
It's not going to we'll see what happens in the future. I think Apple will do a better job than Microsoft in weathering this problem. Microsoft spent a decade spinning wheels after the antitrust stuff. They were so hobbled by what happened. They just couldn't respond to Google or Apple or anybody else. It was just a terrible time. I don't see that happening to Apple.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see. It's kind of an Apple-related show because have you seen well, there's a bunch of fun stuff going on. So we had the iOS, whatever call or FaceTime bug yesterday.
Yep.
There's some other iOS hacking devices going on in like the UAE. But here's one kind of on the other side. Did you see the Facebook stuff going around? What Facebook did?
They pulled it's like an advertising app. I didn't really even look at the story. So
So Facebook had this fake or VPN app for a while, or maybe they bought it or something. And what this VPN app did was basically harvested all your traffic. And Apple said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So Apple kicked that app out. And then what Facebook did, brilliant minds of Facebook, because they haven't had enough PR disasters over the past couple of years, is they took so what Apple allows you to do if you're a large company like Facebook is they have an enterprise security certificate that they can give to all their employees, and then all those employees can sideload applications that they're beta testing or building that aren't ready for the App Store. It's a way to bypass the App Store.
You're talking about the test flight thing or whatever?
No. This is like even more fine-grained than that. Basically, you put the certificate on your machine or on your phone, and then you can just load apps directly. Like you don't have to go through the test flight, I don't think, or anything else.
Oh, okay.
And so what Facebook did here, real genius move, was they said, hey, remember that VPN app we had that was really cool because we could see what everybody was doing?
Yep.
What if we pay, no joke, they were paying people $20 a month to put this on their phone outside, and they were targeting teens, they said.
Sure.
And they were paying
$20 a month.
$20 a month to harvest all their data and they would give incentives for like referring people, or if you were buying stuff on Amazon, because they wanted to harvest all your information by using this certificate that Apple explicitly said was only for enterprise use.
Right.
So basically, they pulled that app out of the store. Apple or Facebook said, "Hey, we can still do that if we just give some kids our certificate." And then
Well, it is
caught.
an enterprising move on their part, but
Yeah.
I'm surprised this hasn't come up before. But is it possible that Facebook is not a trustworthy company? I mean,
it never really ceases to amaze me that they the bounds that they will go to just extract the soul out of humanity.
they're just terrible.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. So Apple this morning revoked their enterprise certificate. So now there's a bunch of stories about how people who were actually building like the Instagram betas and all that stuff can't do their work because they can't load the applications internally anymore. And
so, I mean, where does Facebook go from here? What's next for this company? They're going to buy like farms that put like those chemicals in a cow so everyone gets cancer, or like where do you go from here when you're are they the James Bond villain in the next movie, or what's
I don't know. I mean, they've done a really good job at saying, "Hey, government, please come regulate us," because they continuously just screw up, and not just like minor things, like intentionally screwing things up, which is the problem.
Facebook is always going to be tough for me. I mean, the central point of it as a user is that it connects you with people, right? And in this world today, where when I was a little kid, like, people didn't really move far away. Like, everyone in your family was kind of close. You would see them from time to time. Mm-hmm. These days, of course, it's much easier to get around. Most families are probably scattered all over the place. We've moved. We've moved cross country a couple of times. You have friends in different parts of the country, the world, whatever. You can keep up with them. I like that, But I mean, this company, like, this whole service was built on stolen ideas, stolen technology. They have done nothing but be evil the entire time. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's almost like that, it's a theoretical thing. Like, what if the Nazis had, won World War II and cured cancer? Would that have made it okay?
Right.
And it's like you can't, they're like that. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I mean, they're kind of that bad. I mean, I realize they're not actually killing people, but aren't they?
Yeah, at least killing us inside. I haven't logged the last time I logged into Facebook was only to enable this podcast to be able to stream onto Facebook Live, and then prior to that, I think it's been over 2 months.
I will only very occasionally go in. I've been scanning the old pictures, so I put a couple of old pictures up there because they're personal, and I don't want those on Instagram or whatever. But I prefer Instagram, which I realize the irony of because owned by Facebook. But so far at least they haven't screwed it up. It's photography based. I like that. It works for me.
Yep.
But Facebook, I will say, I mean, get on there if you ever do, whenever you do, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why I'm not on here. It's just, it's so
meh.
It's polarizing.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like the temperatures outside because it's
right. I didn't say polar vortexizing, but yes.
So yeah. Yep. That's about all we got for today. You got anything else?
It has been Apple heavy. I kind of, if you look at the site, in fact, I think, let me just look at the site.
No, that's what I was just doing. It's like Apple
offers. The top four, everything above the fold, so to speak, is about Apple. I mean, and you look down the page, there's a lot of Apple stuff. And obviously sometimes these things are just coincidental. It's, whatever, they're in the news right now. But, I wanted to write that Apple editorial, and I actually thought to myself, like, is this too much? Like, people are going to think I'm going off some weird deep end on Apple here, but it's just the nature of the week. I mean, we'll be able to move past it, I think, tonight, right? Because Microsoft's going to announce their earnings tonight,
which will be interesting to watch because everybody in the tech sector has not been bad per se, but it's not. Well, I guess maybe Nvidia has been pretty bad, but they haven't been stellar. If compared to previous
Intel
quarters.
kind of.
Yeah. They're just kind of like leveling off a little bit. So it'll be very curious to see how Microsoft ends up.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but in some ways, Microsoft's focus on the enterprise might help because obviously the quarter they're reporting on, just like with Apple, is the holiday quarter, and that tends to be the biggest quarter of the year. especially for companies that are heavily invested in like consumer electronics or consumer technologies of any kind, really. Microsoft isn't, and so I don't know. I actually don't know off the top of my head. I mean, whether that quarter, which is probably Microsoft's second fiscal quarter of the year, July to October, October to December, if that's normally their biggest quarter of the year, it may still be, because the other thing that happens is, regardless of companies, how they recognize years, a lot of companies have money to spend that disappears if they don't spend it by the end of the year. So you see a lot of contracts signed and contracts extended and ad deals come in or whatever it might be. Those things do happen sometimes in December. So maybe Microsoft sees a bump from that, but it might be interesting to look at. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, you know what I really want, and I can't figure out how to do this, but there's got to be a way. So we'll end it on this one. So Google announced yesterday they're updating all their UI on their Gmail and apps and whatnot. Yep. I would love my desktop Gmail experience to look like the iOS app, the tablet app.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right. So if you looked at that screenshot yesterday, there was like a full screen experience and then the mobile, the phone experience. The full screen one was obviously a tablet, or maybe not so obviously. I think they're going to get it there.
I hope, because
they did the big Gmail makeover on the web last, I don't know what that was, February, March, something like that. And then, of course, when they announced that Inbox was going away, I reevaluated it. And you can really screw with the UI. Like, you can turn stuff off and turn things on, whatever. But you never really get it down to that kind of minimalist look. I agree. If they could get it to look like the tablet UI, I might use it too. But I just put Gmail on the phone. I got the iPhone. I tried Gmail. I'm like, we're heading in this direction. Let's see what it looks like. And it was like, oh, like it's just, and it doesn't. Unlike some other Google apps, it doesn't respect like the text size settings you made in the OS. Yeah. So like all the text is I bolded the text and you can do that in iOS. So some of the stuff is bold, but it looks really blocky because the text itself isn't big, and it just looks terrible. It's like everything is wrong. It's like terrible looking. So I'm looking forward to the change, but I'm probably just go back to Outlook for now. I can't deal with it.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else? We good? We good?
Yeah. How about you?
I'm waiting for your package to arrive.
That'll be today. Oh, one more thing, by the way. So over the weekend, I took Philips Hue off of my Google Home app, right? And we had 2 days in a row where the lights didn't change, and then they changed again. Damn. Infuriated by this, I thought to myself, what else could it be? And actually, you know what else it could be? It could be the Apple Home app. Because one thing that happened possibly right around the same time that those lights started changing back was I bought a new iPad. And I wonder if I looked at the app and it triggered something, and I don't know. So last night I just bought a new iPhone as well. So I opened up the Home app, and at like 10 o'clock last night, by the way, finding out how to remove stuff from this app is really difficult. Like whether you're talking about lights, accessories, rooms, and what else could we be talking about? I guess that's everything. It's kind of hard to find. It's a really I don't use this app normally, but anyway, I finally figured it out. I got everything out of this app. But the thing is, like, you have to wait 24 hours to test it. So, like, it's like trying to hear from someone on the moon. Like, I'll see it tomorrow. I have to wait until 9:45 at night tonight to see if it changes. If it changes to red and green again tonight, I'm going to have to nuke this thing from orbit. There's no other outcome. I'm going to have to literally remove every single one of these things and redo the whole thing.
I'm playing around with this Gmail UI, and I can't figure out how to get rid of, like, if it has an attachment, then it really like breaks it up. Like it has this massive icon underneath the email, and I'd really just not like to see that. I know. I hate it.
What
I want back is Newton. And
what you really want back is Inbox. Like you could use it for 2 months now. You get 2 months. Inbox is beautiful. It really is beautiful.
All right, folks. So that wraps it up for today, and we will catch you back here tomorrow, which should be Thursday, and hopefully a little bit warmer. Have yourselves a chilly but good day if you're in the northern hemisphere and in the polar vortex.